Hello! I've made many videos in the past describing my experiences with CFS, ME, and it's been like a personal story of how I'm suffering and how I'm struggling. I used to make a lot of karate videos, and then I started making videos saying I can't do karate anymore. And I've also made a few videos. I think the first video I made was I have CFS, and then I made one living with CFS, so I made one called I hate CFS. But they're more like just videos about me and my experiences. And this video is going to be more about advice for other people, in particular those suffering with long COVID. Now, I want to start out by saying I am not a doctor, but I also want to say that doctors don't know how long it will last. So to be honest, a qualified doctor has got about as much knowledge about how long COVID will last as I do, to be honest, because nobody knows. You might suffer with it for a few months and then wake up one day and be completely fine. And if that happens, that is brilliant. Good for you. If, however, it lasts longer, then basically your life is going to suck. I'm sorry to say that. I know sometimes when you're feeling down, you're not feeling very well, all you want is for someone to say, don't worry, everything will be all right. You know, you'll be fine. You know, you'll get through it. And to a certain extent that might be true, but to another extent I'm not going to sugarcoat this, okay? If the symptoms of long COVID do indeed last as long as ME, the life you once knew is over. It's as simple as that. The life you had before, you can put that in a box of memories, take that box of memories, put it in a cupboard somewhere, shut the door and say goodbye to it, okay? And then every so often you might look at your old life. Maybe you can actually literally look for it, like old photos or whatever. But the reality is, the life you're living now is not the life you lived then. That's if, and only if, the symptoms of long COVID do in fact last like ME does. I've spoken a lot on my channel about my journey with ME. Right, I have lost jobs through having ME or CFS, chronic fatigue syndrome, or I can never pronounce ME, hang on.
Myalgic encephalomyelitis.
So you just had my computer try and pronounce it. I don't know how accurate it was, probably not very accurate. I will say you have one advantage over people like me and people who've suffered like I have, is that you're more likely to be believed. People in the past, and still to an extent now, just simply were not believed when they have this illness. The doctors thought it was all in their mind and they'd send them to therapy. I've discussed all this in previous videos. And so I'm not going to repeat all that, which you can find in my older videos. But the simple fact is, if you've had COVID-19 and now you're suffering of long COVID and you're suffering with the fatigue, you are more likely to be believed. And believe me, that is a massive advantage over people like me and sufferers like me and just thousands of people all over the world who just not believed. And you will be. So straight off the back, you have an advantage. You may have had this horrible illness, and I'm not going to downplay it in any way. Yes, it's a horrible, horrible illness. I'm not denying that. But you will be believed. And that is something that people that are suffering from CFS, ME, just didn't have. Okay, so the fatigue. I'm looking at a list on the BBC website. I'm going to go down a list of symptoms which are similar. Not every symptom is similar. For example, loss of smell. That isn't a chronic fatigue syndrome symptom, but many of the others are. So the fatigue is debilitating. It's not like tiredness. This is one thing that most people couldn't get when I started suffering with the fatigue. They would think I was just being tired or just being lazy, and they're like, oh, you should go to bed earlier, or they go, oh, I get tired sometimes, and you know, it's just, they can't comprehend. Someone that doesn't know can't comprehend. The fatigue is debilitating. People with ME some of them are classed as disabled. Hopefully, people with long COVID won't ever have to face that reality. But it is a possibility. It is out there. And you literally can't do anything. A big thing with chronic fatigue syndrome is a condition called PEM, post-exertional malaise. Basically what that means is if you do any activity, no matter how mundane, you will suffer for it for the next day, possibly the day after. See, I used to do karate. I can't even do a warm-up now. Unless, well, I can do a warm-up, but I also know that I'm going to have to go to bed for the next 2 days afterwards. So everything I do is planned. Everything I have to think, okay, if I want to do this task here, will I also have enough energy to do this task here? And I've got to think, will I have enough energy to do both? Do I have to prioritise? Can I only do this task and not do this task? Maybe this task is more important, so which means I can't do this task. Or maybe I have to wait and say, okay, well, both tasks need to be done, but maybe I do one today, maybe I do one tomorrow, or even maybe I do one today and then I'll have a day to recover, and then I'll do the other task the following day, or even the day after that. So 2 tasks could, depending on what the tasks are and how debilitating your condition is, could be all you do that week. I mean, people with my illness who've got a serious condition, really bad, simply having a shower in the morning is a task. Okay, now I need to recover from that task before I think about doing something else. Luckily, I'm not that bad right now. I have been that bad in the past, and there's a possibility that I may be that bad again in the future, where it's literally, what can I do today? Like, for example, right now, as I'm filming this, my kitchen is a bit of a mess. And that's fine, it's a mess. I've done a task today. I have sent a parcel off to my brother for Christmas, and that is today's task. That is all the energy I have. I don't have the energy to clean my kitchen. And that's fine. That's just the way I live. That's how I've accepted it. Tomorrow I will clean my kitchen, but I won't do anything else. The next day I may do a different task. Everything I do, and if you're suffering from this, everything you're going to have to do will be about the conservation of energy. You will have to think, okay, what needs to be done? How much energy is that going to take? How long will I need to recover before I can then do something else? If you're new to this, this is going to be quite difficult for you at first because you don't know how long it will take you to recover from each activity. But you learn over time, and eventually you think, okay, this activity requires this amount of energy, and maybe because it only requires a small amount of energy, I can do another little activity again, as long as I have sufficient gap in between. And then that's a really good day because you've done 2 things that day. You might be used to doing like 100 things a day. You might be used to being full on active, just constantly go, go, go. From the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to bed at night, you're just, full on. Every day is a long, productive day. As I said before, that version of you doesn't exist anymore. That version of you is history. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I'm just going to give you the reality. That is not who you are anymore. Now you are constantly thinking in the back of your mind, how much energy does this activity take? How long will I need to recover? And notice I'm using the word recover. I'm not saying how long do I need to rest between each activity, because it's not a rest, it's a recovery. A rest and a recovery are very different things. So, that is the first thing. Shortness of breath is the next thing they list on the BBC website. And again, this goes along with the fatigue. How much energy do I need to do each activity? And you'll find as you have less activity, you'll have less breath. Again, COVID is a respiratory disease, so it may be a little bit different to what I'm used to, but I do run out of breath really easily. Say like 10 years ago, I was doing karate 6 or 7 days a week. I had a full-time job and a full social life. I never had any problem with that. Now I try to do anything and I can't breathe. It's just constant wheezing just the whole time. It's like I can feel the air going into my lungs, but it's like the diaphragm is exhausted, because the diaphragm muscle goes up and down to make the lungs can go in and out and stuff. And it's just all that just feels constantly tired and exhausted. And it's got chest pain I see lower down the list, which is actually below shortness of breath, but I believe the two are connected. Joint pain, again, people with chronic fatigue syndrome will suffer from joint pain. A lot of people compare like chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. I personally believe they are different illnesses, but I'm not going to go into that because I'm going off on a tangent. A cough, yes, I have a cough, and that is actually a symptom of chronic fatigue syndrome. Obviously, the causes will be different. You've just had a horrible, nasty virus, which has fucked up your throat and your lungs. Whereas for me, a cough is a symptom of it. And people used to think I was a smoker, and people think, oh, you know, you've got the illness. It's actually horrible going into a shop and then I start coughing. I'm going to wear my mask and everything. But, you know, people look at you, it's like, oh, he's got the Rona. Okay, looking down the list, loss of smell, again, that doesn't really apply for me to tell you about it. That's more for you to know. Okay, I'm running down the list. I'm not going to read everything that doesn't apply, but headaches, that is a big one. I will get killer headaches, just the worst. And the only way to get rid of it is to sleep. I could take every painkiller under the sun and it won't touch the headache. It might lessen it a little bit just to make it tolerable, but basically the only thing that will ever help is going to sleep. And it's just like, my head is killing me, I take the painkillers, go to bed. Sometimes I just live with it. A lot of times I'm in extreme pain, what most people would call debilitating, and you just live with it. But people that have chronic illnesses do this. It doesn't matter what chronic illness you have, or anyone has, they will be in extraordinary amounts of pain that the average person wouldn't be able to cope with. They simply would not be able to function. But you can't live your life like that. You have to do things. You have to carry on. And so you learn to live with it. You just carry on. It's all you can do. You have the worst joint pain. You have the worst headache. You feel like death 24 hours a day. You want to kill yourself. You really would think death is a sweet release from this agony. But you carry on. Though some people do kill themselves. But most people will carry on. They have to. They have got people that depend on them, like children, family and stuff. Just read one saying lack of appetite. Luckily that's one I don't suffer from. I actually suffer from the opposite, where my stomach never tells me I'm full. I could eat and eat and eat. So that one again is not really a crossover thing. Sore throat, again, that's related to the coughing, which it mentioned earlier. Muscle pain, again, that goes along with the joint pain, extreme pain. I mean, I pretty much live on paracetamol, ibuprofen, and Voltarol gel, basically. I always have those. It's just, that is my thing. Luckily, you know, with the paracetamol and the ibuprofen, because they work in different ways, you can have your paracetamol, and then a couple of hours later you can have your ibuprofen, and then a couple of hours you can have your paracetamol. I try not to be dependent on the pills. Like, I will see how long I can go until the pain is just so bad I can't cope. But that's a good way, because if you keep taking the same thing, it's not good. Diarrhea, I've noticed, is at the bottom, and anyone with CFS, ME, will have bad irritable bowel syndrome. Basically, my digestion is a complete joke. I don't really talk about it too much on my videos, but basically, without going into the gruesome detail, my digestive tract doesn't work as it should. There have been many nights when I have been curled up in the fetal position on the bathroom floor in blinding agony, thinking I'm going to die. And that's my life. That is how I live. once I've managed to get myself sorted out, I carry on, because there's nothing else I can do. I can't dwell on it. I can't be like, oh, I had the the worst pain last night of my life, and make a big drama about it. There's no point. You just carry on. And that's basically my advice, is you carry on. You plan everything. You might have to reduce your hours at work. I've reduced my hours at work. Or you might have to give up your job entirely. I have been without work several times. And then claiming benefits when you're out of work, that's a whole different thing. I mean, right now the benefit system is a bit screwy up because of like everyone being furloughed, but I'm not ill enough to get like disability allowance or ESA or the full range of PIP. But yeah, I'm not well enough to earn a full-time job. So I'm kind of stuck in this middle area. You know, I either get better so I can work more and earn more money, or I get iller so I'm qualified for more benefits and then get more money. Where I am right now, I am right in the forgotten zone, and you may find yourself in that place too. And it's hard. It is hard, especially if you've got people to support. I'm lucky, I've got very small outgoings, but I struggle on what I'm earning with very few outgoings. And I have to pay my bills and my taxes and stuff, but other than that, I'm quite lucky. I don't have a family, but that's precisely why I don't have a family, because I would never be able to support them. So sometimes your friends won't understand. When I say sometimes, I mean all the time. They will constantly ask you to do things that you physically can't do. They will ask you to do things that you used to do, like going to your hobbies, like whether it's a fitness class or going for a bike ride or whatever. Things that they know you used to do, things you used to enjoy. And to be honest, you're just going to have to learn how to say no. And it's as simple as that. Some people really struggle with the concept of saying no to people because they don't want to hurt other people's feelings. Well, it's your health, it's your body, it's your life, and you just have to fuck them sometimes and say no. Obviously, do it politely, but literally just say no. The downside of this is eventually people will stop inviting you out, which is actually kind of sucks as well, because you still want to be asked out, because sometimes you might have a good day where you do want to do things, and then when you see people, especially like you see them all on Facebook, or maybe not so much Facebook anymore because that's just rubbish now, but maybe like Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and you see pictures of your friends all together doing things, maybe not right now while the lockdown or tier system's in place, but once we get past this, and you'll see pictures of your friends all socialising, having a laugh, doing activities that you used to like. And there will come a time when you'll get upset thinking, why didn't they ask me? And it's because you've said no, 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 but you have to say no, 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 no. Otherwise you're going to make yourself even more ill than you really already are. So it's a tough one, to be honest. With my illness, and probably with long COVID, you will have days where you feel better. You will have days where you feel like you can do things, and you have to take advantage of those days, but you have to be careful, because if you have a day where you're feeling really good and you do things, and maybe you do like 3 or 4 things, maybe 5 or 6 things, and you think, I've got my old life back, maybe you will. Maybe long COVID does end one day and you will get your life back, and that's marvellous. If, however, it is going to be like having CFS ME, you're going to be screwed a few days later. You're going to be in bed, you won't be able to function. It's as simple as that. One of the big things that people talk about that have long COVID is brain fog. I've tried to explain brain fog in previous videos, but again, unless you have it, you can't know. And trying to explain to other people what it's like is really difficult, because outwardly people will look at you and they can't see what's going on in your head, or to be more precise, they can't see what's not going on in your head. You look normal to the outside. You could have a day where you actually feel fine energetically, you know, you're not fatigued or anything, but your brain is not working. And this is, it's a two-prong attack on yourself. You've got the brain fog itself, and the second thing is the other external people looking at you, trying to communicate with you, not understanding and not appreciating what you're going through. This is a really big deal. Brain fog is more than just confusion. It's more than just not remembering things. It is just a complete lack of knowing what the hell is going on. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what the other person is doing. You don't know what you're saying, what they're saying. You don't know anything at all. You can't comprehend. It's like the body is here, but the mind is elsewhere, and you don't know where it is or how to get it back. And it's really difficult. And I have, for a lot of times, given up trying to explain to people just how bad brain fog can be, because it's kind of one of those things, unless you experience it, you're never gonna know. So my advice to people who are suffering with proper brain fog for the first time with long COVID, or suffering with ME for the first time, you know, if you find a way to explain it to other people so that they understand, you know, let me know. You might be able to have one person who understands, or one person that kind of sympathizes, but actually explaining it to everyone you come across, it's just not going to happen, because they can't possibly comprehend how bad it is. So I'm not going to try and explain it on here. I'm just trying to explain that people won't understand. So this was supposed to be like an advice video for people, and I may have made it sound a little bit negative. I mean, you'll see a lot of my videos if you watch my channel, and I do come across as quite happy and cheery sometimes, and you'll see me doing vlogs, maybe not so much this year because I can't go anywhere, but you'll see my past videos where I've gone out to places, I see friends. I used to go to Winter Wonderland a lot and all that, and I do, you know, outwardly look happy on camera. That's purely because I don't film myself when I'm having a bad day. And like this, you will have good days and you will have bad days. It's not all negative. Once you've learned how to live with it, once you've learned how to plan your life, you can have a life. You can live a normal life. I mean, it will be different. You know, you're when in the past I used to see my friends in the evening at the pub. Now if I want to see my friends, it would be in the daytime, for example. You just have to make variations. In the past I used to train karate 6 days a week. Now I may train once every 2 weeks. So I still do it. I do it on my own. I do it at my own pace. So you just have to make changes. You can still do everything. You just have to do it slower. You have to have longer gaps between. And you can still lead a full life. You can still exist in this world. And you can still be happy. I just want to get that across, because for years I felt miserable. I got no help. I mean, I got this illness back in a time when it wasn't believed. And there was no support really for me at all. I was told I could get counselling if I was suicidal, and I was like, that's just shit. Now, you know, as people understand this condition and may believe you, you might be able to get counselling, as long as the person giving the counselling understands that it is a real thing and it isn't just in your head, because it isn't just in your head, and that's the big thing that you have to get across. But yeah, I mean, I don't want to like sound like, you know, your life is over entirely. Your old life is entirely over, but you have a new life now, and you have to do new things with your new life in a new way that you couldn't do before. Things you did before is over, and now you're on the next chapter of your life. It's as simple as that. You may spend a week in bed, you may spend 2 weeks in bed, you may spend 3 weeks in bed. That doesn't mean your life is over. I mean, I would quite often, I've got my old laptop here, I would watch films in bed. I can talk to people from there. It's got a webcam on it, so I can still interact with people. So yeah, life doesn't have to be over. Your social life doesn't have to be over. You just have to work out a new way of doing things, and then you'll be fine. Even if it lasts for the rest of your life. That's just the way it is now. It's and you have to learn to live with it, and only you can work out what's best for you. And when you work it out, you'll be fine. Alright, that's all I'm going to say about that, and I will see you again soon. Bye.